Hey guys, today's subscriber shoutout goes to 𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬, thank you for subscribing and being a subscriber. And today's commenter shoutout goes to Woozworld, thank you for commenting and watching my videos. Now, let's get into the video. Today's video is part 4 of my Woozworld Iceberg series, aka the last part. If you haven't seen the other 3 parts of the series, I recommend watching those ones first. I will link the playlist down below. Imagine this. It's October, nearing Halloween. You come home from a long day at school to log on to Woozworld, you know, to have some fun and relax, talk to your friends. But then, when everything loads up, you see that your woozin looks like this.
Ew! What an interesting artifact.
Me and many other people had this same exact experience back in 2014. For the 2014 Halloween event on Woozworld, they added a disease called 𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬. And trust me, this was probably the most hated and controversial events that Woozworld has ever put out there. Every single player hated it, not a single person liked this. The Woozworld wiki states, 𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬 was a disease woozins could catch during the Halloween events in 2014. The disease caused the affected woozin's skin to become bright blue, and they gained a long beard laced with slime. The cause was by stepping on green slime, or by being within 2 squares of an affected woozin. Early symptoms just show the blue skin until it completely infects by giving the beard and other characteristics. Despite its controversial reception, similar events happen in Woozworld just like this one. Woozworld received tons of backlash because of this event, and I actually knew a few people who just simply stopped playing Woozworld because they didn't want to look like that. Of course, most of them, I think, all continued playing again after the event was over, but this event really just sucked. You couldn't do anything to make that go away. Changing your clothes would not make that go away. Changing your hair wouldn't make it go away. Nothing you did would do anything. Except, of course, spending your money. Yep, spending your money was the only way to rid your woozin of this weird disease. And this, right here, was the main reason this event was so controversial. Because, as we can all tell, they really just wanted money. Woozworld seriously had thousands of little kids begging their mom to give them her credit card so that they could cure their woozin of this disease and look normal. The Woozworld wiki also states a cure and vaccine was released in the store as well. Professor Prestige is credited as its healer. If you didn't have the money to buy the vaccine, then you were pretty much screwed, and you just had to look like that and deal with it. That's not even really the worst part. You could get re-infected. That is correct. You could get infected, spend your money, cure yourself, and then get infected again. This, of course, was just yet another way to make money, because then that meant that you had to buy yet another vaccine. But if you spent extra money, you could just prevent reinfection altogether, and then you would pretty much be good. I don't exactly remember how long this event was, but I swear it felt like it lasted forever. I'm pretty sure it even lasted after Halloween, but yeah, literally everybody hated this. You were either spending money or you were screwed. And like I said, a ton of people actually stopped playing because of this, and they just waited until the event was over. I'm actually pretty sure I did that. I think I also stopped playing for a while until the event was over because it just wasn't really enjoyable to play Woozworld while looking like that and not being able to do anything about it, except spending money, which I couldn't do at the time. If you were active on Woozworld when 𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬𝕬 Did you keep playing? Did you spend the money? Did you just stop playing? Let me know. There are some people who hack on Woozworld, and you may be thinking, literally, what in the world would you do with hacks on Woozworld? Like, what would be the reason to do that? And your answer is people giving themselves mod permissions, also known as mod tools. If you don't know what these are, they're basically just abilities that, regular moderators on Woozworld have. These things include going invisible, kicking people from units, even if it's not their own, sometimes banning people's accounts, having customized frames, like they can put any picture they want on there, changing any unit's title again, even if it's not their own unit, and teleporting. There's obviously a lot more that they can do, but I think that's all I really know. I can't tell you how people get these tools because I have never done it, I've never attempted to do it, I've never wanted to, but I can tell you some of the stuff that they do. I used to see this kind of stuff literally all the time, like every other day, especially when Woozworld was still running on Flash. Usually at night. It was always during the night because that's when Woozworld's office hours were closed. One of these hackers would make a unit and make the title something incredibly inappropriate, maybe put some really inappropriate frames in the unit, just to get a lot of people's attention, and they always did this on spare accounts because obviously they would get immediately banned. Some of you guys might have seen it yourself. It's really not that rare, and it actually happens a lot more than you think. There are actually tons of videos on YouTube about these mod hackers, or videos of people just using the hacks. All you really have to do is look up Woozworld mod tools or mod hacks, and a ton of videos will come up. Just to warn you though, there will be some videos that are, quote, teaching you how to get these hacks, but do not do it. Because they are all scams to get into your account, and I'm not lying. Do not give these people your login information. Do not give them your WoozCM if they ask. Do not download anything that you don't really trust. Just don't even attempt to do it because, one, you are putting yourself and your account at a very, very high risk. And not only that, but you would probably immediately get banned. I actually remember a super long time ago, like 2017, I probably had around 100 subscribers. I used to live stream Woozworld on YouTube all the time. I would do it for hours, I'm not even kidding. I would come home from school and immediately start live streaming until it was time for me to go to bed. And one time, two of these hackers saw my stream and they started trolling me, and at the time I didn't really understand what mod hackers were, whatever you want to call it, so I literally started freaking out because I thought that they were going to get into my account. They were messing with me, they made accounts to harass me, all on the live stream, and I didn't realize it at the time, but they were only doing this to see my reaction and just to mess with me because since I was live streaming they could, hear my voice, see my reaction, and they actually sent me into a panic attack on the live stream. I remember transferring all of my beaks to a different account because me and my friend were convinced that they were going to hack into my account. Even though they can't do that, we were still really convinced that they were going to get into my account, so I started to transfer all of my stuff. I was crying, freaking out. I still have all of their accounts blocked to this day. And they even made an account called noblegarden back, which still exists, by the way. And they were using it to harass me. They made a ton of accounts to harass me, actually. And yeah, I was just freaking out. And honestly, I have not live streamed since because ever since that happened, I was just too scared to live stream again. This actually has to do with those hackers, hence why I talked about those first before this. In early January of 2018, some of these hackers basically took over Woozworld, and literally hundreds of people got hacked. And they didn't get hacked in the way you may think. Since the people who hack with these tools can't just automatically see everybody's password and emails, they came up with a kind of smart way to hack all these people. I'm assuming you all know the units called Woozworld Plaza, correct? During the time of this, in Woozworld Plaza, there was this interactable Christmas tree right in the middle of the unit since it had just been Christmas. These hackers made a link to the tree. They made it so if you clicked the tree, it was a link to a website. And the website that the link led you to was one of those free stuff generators. And a lot of people believed it just because it was literally a link inside of an official Woozworld unit. Can you imagine that? Imagine you're in Woozworld Plaza shortly after Christmas and there's a Christmas tree in the middle of the unit and you notice that you can click on it. So you click on the Christmas tree and it opens up another tab that says it will give you free stuff. Would you believe that? Well, like I said, a ton of people did, and I don't really blame some of them, especially if they were like really young. So people would click on the tree, open the website, and see get free woos and all this other stuff. And then it would say enter your login information. So like enter your email and password to Woozworld. And then a ton of people did because they wanted free stuff from Woozworld. So then these hackers had access to hundreds of people's accounts. They had a ton of people's login information, and so many people got hacked. I will never forget this because at the time I actually made a video about it that is still up. If you're watching this in the future and the video is no longer there, I am so sorry, but that probably means that I privated it. But as of the time I am making this video, it is still up. So if you want to go find it, go ahead. But be aware, it is kind of cringy because it is old, and I'm just really sorry if you have to listen to that. And I was a lot younger and immature than I am now, so that's another thing. But this hack was a huge deal. People were talking about it for days, or maybe even weeks. The weird thing is, Woozworld themselves never even addressed it. They didn't say anything about it. I'm pretty sure they just banned the hackers and removed the link from the tree. But that's not all they did. At the time, if some of you may remember, there was also units called Ballroom. It's not a thing anymore, but at the time, it was. And the hackers really just changed the title of the unit. I think they changed it to Hacked by their name, if I'm thinking correctly. It was a long time ago, so I don't really remember. I think another thing I remember, no shade, by the way, but I think another thing I remember is Sunset916 was pretending that she got hacked. She really didn't. Everybody knew that she was faking it, but yeah, she was like pretending that she got hacked. And she even changed her title to her trade center, which was kind of funny. So, what's the moral of the story here? Never put in your login information to any website other than Woozworld. Even if it says you're gonna get free stuff, because guess what? You won't. I've talked about those websites literally like countless times on my YouTube channel. Just don't do it. Don't, because they're all hacks. They're all scams. Even if you think it's so totally believable, and even if it came directly from Woozworld, like in this story, don't do it because you're gonna get hacked. And you will lose all of your stuff. Plus, Woozworld would never ever ask anybody for their login info in the first place, so like, no. In April of 2019, a group of hackers brought hacked beaks into Woozworld. And the action that Woozworld took is a little unacceptable, you know? So because of these hackers hacking a ton of beaks into the game, Woozworld basically started mass banning a ton of people just for having high amounts of beaks. I'm pretty sure if people had like over 1 million beaks, they would get banned. And all of these people that got banned were totally innocent. I'm pretty sure Woozworld banned like over 30 people, maybe 40. I actually made a video about this when it happened. I will link it down below. This was all over Instagram and Facebook. So many people were making posts about how they got banned for no reason and how it was like so unfair. At the time of this happening, I had a ton of beaks. I think I had a little over 2 million, and I was literally terrified that I was gonna get banned. So I literally didn't log on to Woozworld for like 2 months because I was so scared that I would just try to log on one day and see the message that I was banned. I remember every once in a while, I would have my friend log on for me to see if I was banned because I was just too scared to see it myself. And I feel so thankful that I was not one of the innocent people who got banned. Like, can you imagine just getting banned simply for having a lot of beaks that you worked so hard for? You took the time and dedication to earn and make that beaks yourself, just for Woozworld to suspect you of hacking and ban you. Woozworld wasn't even doing anything to confirm that all of these people hacked. They weren't doing any like security checks or anything. They were literally just looking through people's accounts, seeing people who had a high amount and just banning them, just because they had a suspicious amount of beaks. Again, I will link my video to this down below, but do be aware, it is kind of old, so it's not going to be the same as my more recent videos. But yeah, Woozworld for real had the whole entire community terrified and shaking in their boots. Maybe this next one will scare you into changing your password and making sure it's a little stronger. You may have read that and been like, what is an unchecked account? Unchecked accounts are accounts that have been cracked into by professional cracking programs. Usually they're accounts that haven't been touched for years, like 10 years old, but occasionally, sometimes, the programs do crack an account that is still in use and still active. And all of the information comes from leaked data. I have seen people, specifically in Woozworld Facebook groups, leave just lists of accounts, like email and password. And they usually say, here are some free unchecked accounts, take whatever. And it's just a bunch of usually noob, poor accounts that are usually really old, like I said. But again, sometimes, occasionally, these programs can get into an account that is still active. You guys probably would like to know how to avoid your account from being cracked. It's really simple. Just make sure that you have a strong password that you don't use for any other platform. And if it makes you feel safer, you could change it every once in a while. And by strong passwords, I mean use some passwords that have like symbols. A really good thing to use for passwords is a vast password generator. This will just make a really strong password for you, and you probably won't remember it, to be honest, so you should probably save it somewhere, like in a notebook in your room, a sticky pad on your laptop or computer. Just save it somewhere, on your notes, on your phone, literally wherever. Unfortunately, this is the end of my Woozworld Iceberg series. I'm really sad to be ending this. I really wish that there was more stuff I could think of adding so that this didn't have to end so soon. But I know a lot of you guys loved this series. I've even been told that this series is the best of my videos. That is all I have for this series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love you guys so much, and goodbye.